Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. We'll start our next session, which is the Hyderabad chapter on Agile and Mindset Transformation by Swapna Somasi. She's a Vice President, Technology Operations at JP Morgan Chase and Co. But before starting our session, I would like to thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots. It is a leading consulting and training service provider helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. For more information, visit www.innovationroots.com. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Gile, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited, which is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprise can use Gile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Discipline Agile, LESS, and more. You can try out Gile for free for up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at gile.io or reach out to us for any inquiries or exclusive product demo. Check out the Gile page on Agile Network India website for more information. Here are some do's and don'ts for the participants. Join the event 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted or and videos disabled as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issue. Questions will be taken via the chat box. Please enter your questions in the chat box. At the end of the session, the facilitator or the moderator will help and read out the few questions to the speaker as per the time available. Please fill in the feedback forms after the event to help us understand more about the event management. We appreciate your cooperation. Without making much further delay, I would like to call upon Divya, who will be facilitating this session. Over to you, Divya.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Nisha. Hello, everyone. I'm Devya. I'm one of the volunteers representing the Hyderabad chapter of Agile Network India. So today I'll be facilitating and co-moderating this session. And I'm equally excited to be here as everybody is. And the next 50 minutes, we are going to hear Swapna speak about agile and mindset transformation, and I'm sure she has great insights to share with us. Over to you, Swapna.
Thank you, Divya, and thank you, Nisha. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on the Agile Network India Forum. It is going to be an interesting hour where we're going to interact on how organizations should be managing changes in parallel to transforming mindsets of people to achieve the desired results. And before we go ahead, I would like to put forward a disclaimer. Just give me 1 second. A little bit about myself. Well, I've been working for the last 19 years, so I come with rich and versatile experience in the financial services and the banking industry, and also in the product technology space as well. I've been handling operations, quality assurance, business analysis, project and program management, product development, and people leadership. I have in-depth knowledge driving strategic initiatives, transforming projects across several centers of excellence in the information technology space. I'm currently working as the vice president at JP Morgan and Chase. I'm very passionate about people, and my strengths are building collaborative teams and communication, interpersonal skills. System and design thinking, technology, of course, that's a very big passion that I hold. Lean and agile leadership add on to my skill sets. That's a little bit about me. And let's move to the topic. By definition, mindset is an established set of attitudes held by someone. That's the dictionary meaning. And mindsets are the common assumptions that shape how we either hold the organizations back or take them forward. So let me introduce the topic today that we're going to be discussing. Most organizations, or when organizations actually propose and make big changes as a part of their strategic goals, driving value and profit propositions, people in the organizations working in certain mindsets tend to defer these changes for the fear of risks, impact to the business, and the shift to the client or on client focus. And most often than not, organizations focus on processes, tools, and mechanisms to implement these changes while ignoring the mindset shifts and hence fail to achieve the desired results within the desired time frame. Okay. Most of you must have seen this slideshow or this particular graphical representation, and thanks to ThoughtWorks for putting this together. All I had to do is just copy paste from the Google Images. Let's talk a little bit about this mindset shifts. Okay. This is most widely accepted formula, if I must say, in the transformation journey. I'm sorry, that was not me, in case if you're wondering. From early profits to finding a purpose, and from empowering people to and building ownership versus accountability and controlling. Moving away from rigid planning and creating more flexible ways of operating and experimenting, building transparency across all levels versus close-knit hierarchical privacy, and empowering individuals to network and build relatively flat teams versus superpower hierarchies. So while we look at organizations or conventional organizational systems or structures, they were more, or they tend to have the fixed mindsets of driving profits, having a set hierarchies in a more controlling form with rigid planning, and of course hierarchical privacies across all levels. The mindset shifts occur in the organizations when the profit, when organizations move from making profits, while profit, yes, definitely has to be the fulcrum. We have to generate revenue because we have to make money. Organizations have to make money. However, finding the purpose is very much necessary. Building the networks, yes, that's also essential. Making sure that we are empowering people, the teams, individuals, and providing the ownership or building the ownership within the people that or the teams, and allowing people to experiment in the ways we work, in the way we operate, etc. And lastly, across all levels, allowing transparency. Transparency in while securing data, of course, but allowing transparency. Transparency builds trust within the teams and allows the mindset, the transformation journey easier and simpler. And I'll tell you why. We'll talk about it in the next few hours, minutes. How do we make this happen? There is a proven 5-step mindset transformation journey, which is a conception of change, discovery, piloting the change, setting the right priorities and productive choices, measure growth and progress. Now, conception of change, now this can occur at any level, but mostly transpired at the leadership level. Very importantly, discovery, which is identifying what we already have. Yes, there is no necessary to reinvent the wheel. However, identifying our resources, the teams, the people, the skill sets, the domain knowledge, etc., what we already have, the tools and technologies, systems, the risks, what risks are we signing up for, and do we have the appetite, etc. Waste, what we do not need, and definitely the levers that will accelerate the change within the system. Thirdly, developing or building the team to pilot this particular change. Identifying that one team or a set of people for the initial phase who are open and willing to make this change happen and are willing to be a part of the journey, willing to take the risks along with us, along with the leadership. And of course, we need to strategize the change before we kick off the pilot, along with the people or the individuals who are involved in the change. When we strategize the change, of course, we are talking about the 3 Ps, which is the value proposition, the profit proposition, and the people proposition. Most in the beginning, when I talked about it, most often than not, organizations are always concentrating or focusing on the value and the profit, ignoring the people proposition. So let's talk about what is the value or the values that are driven from the change. So that is how we strategize it. So when a change is made, what value is driven out of that change, or more than one value if there is essential to that change. Similarly, what profit, of course, in terms of cost, in terms of revenue, and of course, we do a benefit analysis. Is it really worthy of making that change? It can be in terms of time. If we are going to achieve lesser time in delivery, it can be lesser cost in terms of delivering a product or a project, or less people or achieving more in less. It can be anything. Similarly, people proposition. How is it going to excite the people that are working with us? And how greatly are we going to engage and empower the people who are going to be working with us? So that's the people proposition. So we cover the 3 Ps in the strategy that we are going to set in for the pilot team while piloting the change. Thirdly, of course, we need to set the goals for the pilot team and make sure we make productive choices. That's for the 4th stage, where from the pilot team, we seek feedback and revisit the changes, revisit the priorities and the choices that we've made for the pilot team to ensure what's working, what's not working. And it's okay to fail. Maybe we have failed. Maybe something did not work right. And we want to correct that. And it's okay to fail, and we failed early. We just need to capture that and ensure that we don't make the same mistake again and make some productive choices the next time. Last but not the least, of course, can we measure mindset transformation? Unfortunately, we cannot. However, we can definitely see in terms of KPIs how we have progressed. Now, KPIs will differ from one organization or product or project. Yes, they differ from organization to organization. However, we need to identify the KPIs that are going to measure the mindset transformation or the change itself and understand, yes, we are progressing towards the right direction. Now, having said that, we will see how this has all worked in a case study. Excuse me. All right. So let's talk about the why. Now, we're in a case study and with some measurable data points to demonstrate how this 5-step method has worked really well in the insurance industry that I worked as the head of projects, technology projects. The leadership team has actually decided, of the insurance firm has actually decided to make certain changes in the way they operate or deliver the technology projects. The teams, of course, have been following the conventional software development life cycle to deploy the client's requirements to production. And at a given point in time, it was taking anything between 3 to 6 months to deliver the projects. So that's why the why. There was increased time to market. There was teams across all domains were working several hours, yet getting very little work done. So there was low productivity. And as we all know, the conventional methods, the world has moved moved forward and ahead, but they were outdated conventional methods. They worked very well, but in the past, I was a super fan of waterfall. I'm not denying that. However, they're conventional, they worked very well, but they're outdated at this point. And whenever there is a stretch in a project, of course, we know that the teams get demotivated doing the same thing over and over again. And there's no innovation, there's no newness to the project that we are doing or to the work that we are doing. And hence, there were demotivated teams and unhappy customers, as we would know, because there was, the delay in deliverables, etc. So when we talk about the why, and of course we want to definitely ask, I mean, the leadership wanted to make the change. My role as a technology project head was to ensure that this transformation or when the change happens, the people in the organization also move along with the change and they make that journey successful. And for that, and in order to make that happen, of course, I had to step in to make certain or take certain steps or discover what is already existing in the system. But before that, there were certain questions that we had to ask. When is the right time to change? Some of the people in the team or some of the people in the organization, some teams and leadership in the leadership said, no, it is never a right time to change. Things are working the way they are and let us leave it the way it is. Obviously, like I talked about in the beginning of this presentation, that there is fear of taking risks, of client shifting of client focus, business results, impacting business results, etc. Some of them had said that we should make the change right away because there is a lot of rigidness to the changes. There are a lot of changes that we want to make to the project, but there's a lot of rigidness to it, etc. And hence we want to make the changes right away because it's going to introduce a lot of flexibility. Some said there were a few critical projects or deliverables, and we want to wait until those were delivered. So some of them were procrastinating the change. So typical mindset disparity, I would call it, between people in the organization, because not everybody thinks alike, or diversity, let us call it that way. That yes, not everybody were thinking alike, and which is healthy, right, for the organization as well, so that we can bring a healthy mixture of thoughts. So I used my learning and experience and took the first step to engage the teams at the ground level to understand what about the waterfall method was working and what about the agile methodology will work better for them. Once I gathered the thoughts, of course, the pros and cons in both the methods or methodologies, we've documented that and we brainstormed from there. When we engage the teams from the beginning, and this is my favorite stage where we engage the teams from the beginning, it's a win by itself because people feel empowered and connected to the journey, and that's a secret to the transformation. Once you are connected to the journey, there's no looking back. They travel with us, they travel with the leadership, and hence that's very important. The next is when we are discovering, and I'm already on the slide, discovering, of course, it's all pictorial. There's no really anything to tell you what it is. But if you look at the graphical representation, it's all about the people. It's about the tools, technology, the diversity, the skill sets that we have amongst the people, the domain knowledge that they contain in the insurance, in the insurance firm that I'm talking about. What technology stack are we using? If there are any inconsistencies, this was only to identify if each team is using different technology skill sets, technology stack, if they're using different tools, and is there any way that we can actually bring consistency there? And in order to, when we did this discovery exercise, to my surprise, yes, each team was actually doing so. The life insurance team, the motor insurance team, the health insurance team, they were doing different, they were using different technology stacks across different and using different tools to build and different project management tools, different configuration tools. So the teams were working in silos and they were really not working as one bigger team. So there was no really consistency in the way they were operating, and my bigger goal was to bring in that consistency. And having said that, yes, in the entire transformation, at the end of the transformation journey, it is important that the entire organization works as one big team for implementing that change that we want to bring. Using the same kind of tools, using the, if not technology, yes, we definitely want a diversity in the technology stack, but definitely in the way we operate our tools for the sake of for the sake of consistency and performance. Having said that, and some may disagree, and I'm open to questions on that. And we made a list of all that, the domain-wise specific tools, team-wise specific tools, and created a unified list as to what works best for the organization and where we were spending more, where we were spending, and what is the optimal tool configuration that we should be using, tool and technology configuration that we should be using by team or for the organization as such. So the stage 2 of discovery was complete. This took about a couple of weeks. Now it may take longer for a bigger organization, but in this case, it took a couple of weeks to about 3 weeks, I believe. Now, then identifying the pilot team or building the team rather. The team comprised of, yes, I'm building an agile team. So yes, I would want to build a scrum. I want to have a scrum master. We pulled up a project manager who has had an experience of a scrum master in the previous role in a previous organization, a business owner or a product owner, developers and data analysts. Now, why a data analyst, you may ask? Because of the fact that there was a lot of data analysis that was required for the particular team that we were talking about. We were obviously having, the pilot team or the team that was open to the challenge of the agile methodology, of working in agile, was actually the required a lot of data analysis as a part of their BAU, and hence we identified that. And then we set the goals for the team. Increase in productivity. Now, when I say productivity here, it means that the number of days to deliver a particular product or an MVP versus the project as such. Like I said earlier, it used to take 3 to 6 months, anything between 3 and 6 months. And hence we want to reduce and increase the productivity for the deliverable. Flexibility in change management and ownership and empowering the people to make those changes. So they become the owners, as we know that is what happens in our agile methodology or Scrum. Now, we set a sprint cycle of 2 weeks. I laid down a Scrum playbook because obviously it would become the reference guide for the organization, where we can go back and review any questions that we may have. A monthly release cycle, and then a release playbook as well. Jira as a tool for operating, and training that was all provided, and we were ready to kick off. And we kick-started the pilot. The next step was to identify what's working well. Yes, what's working well? Definitely the changes, integrating changes was really very easy. Definitely there was flexibility within the teams. Teams were feeling were more relieved from the way they execute projects to the kind of flexibility that they were given in picking the user stories based on their skill sets and what they can drive and what they own, and that ownership was driven within the team. And yes, that made it again, they were owning their own piece and they were responsible for it, and they came up with new innovative ways and of working, and deliverables were sooner than expected. And of course, MVPs were released each month. Now, what did not work? Yes, there were, obviously we always have the pros and the cons, disadvantages of running a particular process. Now, what did not work? The fatigue. There were too many meetings. People were not used to those kind of meetings. Tools. The Jira was a new tool. Of course, they were also working on some manual processes that were still not automated on Jira. And some of them, there were too many. There was a need to cut short on the meeting occurrences. User stories were too aggressive. So that was a learning experience, right? I mean, we were still on the learning curve. 2-week time frame was not enough, so we customized. So then we rediscovered. That's what I'm talking about here when we talked about rediscovering. And this was no longer a pilot. It was a pilot for 3 months, and during the process, we let it work for 3 months. We gave it that time to work, and we put down all of this, let it work, and let us come up with that solid feedback, some data points where we were able to derive value out of it. Then we changed a 2-week sprint to 3-week sprint. It was customized. And remember, nothing was cast in stone. So yes, we could change a 2-week sprint to 3-week sprint. Priorities and choices, the stage 4, what's working and what is not. So that's what we checked. Changed 2-week sprint to 3-week sprint. User stories were created with So where I left off, yes, definitely. So we did a 2-week sprint. We changed the 2-week sprint to a 3-week sprint, making sure that we created user stories with realistic story point evaluation. And final stage, as I mentioned, can we really measure the transformation? The answer is no. There is no metric as such that that measures the mindset transformation. However, in this case, there were certain KPIs that were used to measure the progress. We checked that the productivity increase there was a productivity increase by 7.2% in 6 months. In 7.2% in 6 months for the pilot team. And how did we check that? The project release, the number of days, the % days that were taken to actually do the effort that we were taking to release a certain project earlier to the now situation. I'm talking in the present tense, but to the now situation, the increase in or the effort that was considerably reduced, so increase in productivity to be able to deliver that. So the effort remained the same. However, we were able to deliver that or increase the productivity of the team in a lesser period of time. Similarly, 5 MVPs were released in a period of 6 months. The minimally viable product, and new innovation ideas, scope for improvement generated by the team. All of them, the teams were self-motivated. We had happy customers. And how did we measure that? We did a customer satisfaction survey as well to check with the industry clients that the insurance industry clients that how happy they were with the time to market delivery that we had with the pilot project that we did. So with these measurables, the growth story that we were able to tell, of course, we were able to transform, and the people who were resistant to the change in the beginning were definitely moved or definitely inclined towards the change, let me put it that way, and also wanted to transform their teams as well to the new way of working, because they were measurable results that where we could show some solid the flexibility and the solid changes with the numbers. And having said that, of course, by the end of we were able to drive at the end of it, we could really measure the results driven by KPIs. We were able to have happy customers. We were able to have increased productivity, innovation, several driven new ideas, and people-centric diversified teams, which is very important. With that, I come to the end of the case study, definitely. And I will leave you to some humor. This is my favorite, Calvin is my favorite comic, not humor character, humor character. And this is something that I incidentally got on the net, on Calvin talking about transformation or a fixed mindset rather, to how he wanted to change the way he does homework or the way he studies, so does his schoolwork. So I leave you to humor, and then the floor is open to question and answers, Q&A.
Hey, thank you, Swapna. Thanks for your time today. I'm sure we had a lot of takeaways from your session today. So we do have one of the questions here. So we have this question from Prashant. So he asks about, so when you talked about few things that you changed, specifically the sprint duration from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So he's more interested to understand what were the parameters considered to change the duration of the sprint.
Story point, definitely, as to when you want to change the sprint duration. I think it is talking to your team, definitely the teams that you're engaged with, the developers especially, or the teams who are depends on the role that you are in. The parameters that we consider in changing the sprint duration are definitely what is working. Are we able to deliver the stories or deliver within the 2-week sprint or not? So most often than not, we say it's a 2-week sprint and then we move it to the next sprint cycle, saying that we are not able to deliver it. And if that is happening consistently, that means there is a need to change the duration, either the duration of the sprint cycle, or shorten your or change the way you write your definition of done, or change the way you evaluate your story points. So it's a combination of several things, but what I would think is, if you want, it depends on the product too, the kind of product, how you are looking at your product. If there are too many things that you want to join and to deliver at the same time, then I think and a 2-week sprint is not working, and you want to change it to a 3-week or a 4-week sprint and then release it in a 1 month to a 1 month release cycle, then yes, that is something that you want to consider. So there are certain parameters, and it's very, very it's customized to your product, to your organization, and to your team. And the first thing to consider is what your people think. Are they comfortable with the 2-week sprint? If not, then should we move to a 3-week sprint or a 4-week sprint? But it's all allowed, right? We can do a 3-week and a 4-week sprint. It's 2 weeks too aggressive. Are we really chasing time? Are we always running behind time if we are in a 2-week sprint? If yes, then let's do a 3-week sprint or a 4-week sprint. So it's all about what your team thinks. I hope, Prashant, that answers your question.
So from what I hear from you, Swapna, is like, do what works for you, right?
Yes. So it's all customized, and definitely it's all about what the team, so empower the team to give you that feedback.
Okay. So I have a very interesting question from Priyank. So the questions goes like this, right? So, okay, can we say we can't change few people's mindset? And if yes,
right,
what to do after we arrive at that point?
We can, I mean, is it that we can never change somebody? It's again, we operate in a team, right? We don't operate in silos. So if we know that some people in the team will never change and are fixed to their mindset, and we are unable to change, nothing is personal. So we just continue to work as a team, and we continue to work with the person with the same kind of mindset. And as a leader, and as a leader of that team, if you are coming from that perspective, you flex to that person's mindset. However, in the bigger interest of the team, or the interest of the bigger team, we operate at a team level, and we continue to be flexible for the team, and then also be flexible to this one person, because he or she has a fixed mindset. So I believe, but yes, the best way to always talk about the benefit, to always move or shift the mindset, is to talk about the benefits of the change. Benefits of the change, and how quickly we are progressing. And like I said, we show the realistic, or we show the actual data for the growth. And trust me, I have been there and done that. So I know it is very difficult to change certain people and their mindset, but it works when we actually show them the data. They personally may not like it, but in the interest of the organization and the teams, they will be willing to work with you.
Yeah, thanks, Swapna. Thanks for your time today. And thanks everybody here for being here with us for this session. So I will hand it over to Nisha. Over to you, Nisha.
I just have one thank you note. I know we are on the top of the hour, but I really thank all of you. You've been a great audience, and I really thank. It's been a great learning opportunity, great um, learning opportunity for me as well. And I thank Agile Network India and Innovation Roots for giving me this opportunity to talk
Thank you,
on this
Swapna.
topic.
Thank you. It was a great session. And thank you, Divya, for your wonderful facilitation.